A very good morning. Welcome along to OTB AM. It's Adrian with you as always on a Friday morning, and as always, young Mr. Sheehan is alongside me this morning. How's it going, Owen?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yeah, after that introduction.
Young Mr. Sheehan, you should change your Twitter handle to that. It struck me during the week.
Yes, I probably should.
You giving that some consideration?
Not really. I don't really give any consideration to something that my foe says.
I've been working for Off the Ball for, I think the best part of sort of 5 years thereabouts. It's been maybe the most exciting week that I've had in OffTheBall Towers.
Because of the OffTheBall Stars, obviously.
Absolutely a factor. I'm not going to lie to you. That's definitely in the mix in terms of the little sort of grains of rice. But the bag of rice has clearly been yourself and Tony McGregor going at it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how I would describe it as well. A bag of rice. That's what this relationship is.
Other people are calling it a bag of something else, but
yeah, one big bag of rice. That's what this is, and it's a great analogy.
It's tickled everybody. It's been the subject, obviously, of the national press this week as well. It's sort of creeped its way into. It's literally only a matter of time before my parents ask me what's happening with young Mr. Sheehan and Tony McGregor.
It's only a matter of time before my parents ask me as well.
You haven't spoken to your parents about it yet?
No, I haven't actually. No.
Right. So I suppose what is happening with young Mr. Sheehan and Tony McGregor?
Let's just say that the wheels are in motion. The engine is pumping. There will be an end product eventually. What that end product will be, when that end product will be, I couldn't possibly say right now.
I mean, you're speaking Dana White levels of bullshit right now. What are you talking about?
Dana White is a top-class bullshitter, so I'm absolutely privileged to be put into that company. I really can't say at this moment in time. At this particular moment in time, I cannot possibly comment on the issue.
I mean, if there was a third party was uttering those words in the studio right now, you'd be saying, well, that sounds to me an awful lot like we're getting it on.
I'm basically just waiting on ESPN to come on board for the 30 for 30, and then we can start rolling.
Fair.
I just want them to be here for the announcement.
No, they'll do the 30 by 30 afterwards when you get your head kicked in, and there's a story to be told. It'll be you don't
have much belief in my pugilistic skills.
The stuff now. The fact that you refer to it as pugilistic skills for me, the story now is the 24/7 story. 1,000 kilometres away in the deepest, darkest Kerry, in a jungle in deepest, darkest Kerry, young Mr. Sheehan is plying his trade, and it's you out the back in a sort of shitty little wooden shed
fighting a bear.
Fighting a bear, potentially.
That's exactly my plan.
Wrestling a bear.
How did you know my training regime? I've got a number of bears imported from Russia to fight me, and that is what my training camp is going to be. So I look forward with bated breath to fighting some of those bears.
When are you going to look to try and take this, let's call it, continue with the euphemism, but take this conversation to the next level?
Let's just say the bag of rice shall be opened and trickled into the pot with a little bit of boiling water next week. Next week,
right. Watch this space is what you're saying.
Watch this space.
Right, okay, very good. I mean, for anybody who isn't aware, and I'm sure that most people are right now, that Owen called out the old man, as he put it at the time, Tony McGregor, who since changed his own Twitter handle, by the way, from, I think, @McGregor Tony to the notorious Tony Mac, something like that.
What's your son's nickname? Does he have a nickname yet?
He has no nickname.
Would you name your Twitter handle after your son's nickname?
Well, it depends what it was. Like, if it was something as cool as Notorious, I'd certainly give it some consideration.
That's a very good point. I didn't factor in the fact that Notorious is an extremely cool nickname.
So
it's possibly the coolest nickname out there.
There'll be, a lot of the questions will be, what's your walk-in tune going to be?
You're asking questions beyond. How do you know anything's going to happen?
Colour of your shorts. I'm going to assume green and gold here.
You're making a big leap here.
Sheehan on the back.
Doesn't necessarily have to be green and gold. I think whatever.
Kerry Group down along the side.
Well, I would accept all offers from Kerry Group.
Francis Brennan across the front.
Just something from John B. written etched somewhere. I'll probably get it tattooed on my body somewhere anyway.
I'm Tom Dunn singing the entrance tune potentially.
Yeah.
Who's your corner man?
My corner man. What? Okay, you're as I say, you're asking questions that are outside of reality at the moment. But once that dotted line is signed upon, then you can expect all those answers to be provided. Cornerman auditions, maybe, is what's going to happen.
Jesus.
Yeah. Whoever the best cornerman in Ireland is, you can come hook up with the best fighter in Ireland.
We have some ideas, and the conversations are underway already. I mean,
Let's just say my people are speaking to other people, and other people are speaking to my people.
Your cuts man?
Obviously won't need a cuts man.
Yeah.
I'll be delivering the bruisers and the shiners.
I won't need a cuts man. You'll go down well in this fight game, Owen. That's what's happening here.
I was born for this, as you can all see.
Digger's already been in touch to say that you were in the gym yesterday, already in the zone. Kerry this weekend, and his arse is like a dartboard already from the syringes.
Yeah, I was definitely in the gym yesterday, not in the pub yesterday.
I can vouch for the fact that he was in the pub last night. That's why he's so hoarse this morning. But here's what's coming up between now and just after 9 o'clock. It is a pretty exciting show for you. We'll have, I'm sure, plenty more chat about Owen versus Tony McGregor. It'd be interesting getting your thoughts on that as well, so do get in contact with us for that. We're going to let you know what's happening across the back pages and the sports pages this morning. A couple of interesting stories to get into there. We're going to talk to Alan Quinlan in the studio as always on a Friday to preview the weekend's international rugby. We're going to delve inside those sports pages a little later in the show. Will is along with all the update on all the sports news, some interesting stuff in terms of Irish golf as well this morning, and if we had a drum roll pre-arranged, we'd play it now. The 2018 OTB Stars coming your way. It says 8:50. That's what we're aiming for. There we go. It's not a drum roll.
You can hear the audience.
But the audience outside in the box there are excited.
Oh wow, they're raucous this morning.
Calm down, folks. Calm down. Calm it down. Calm it down. Calm it down.
God, they really got out of control there.
Yet.
Really got out of control.
So that is what's coming your way over the next little while. That's about sort of 8:50 or thereabouts.
Yeah,
you've sort of pieced this thing together. That's the
golden envelopes are here. These are sort of the golden tickets, if you like, to stardom, to sort of
something or other.
Yeah, if you've lived a life of mediocrity up until this point and you get given an off-the-ball star this morning, your life is no longer mediocre. So congratulations in advance to all our winners. Time for the papers.
OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
All right, disappointingly, Owen doesn't feature that we can see so far anyway in any of this morning's national media, but Robbie Keane is somebody who does, as Daniel McDonald writes on the back page of the Irish Independent Sports section this morning, Robbie linked with under-21 role as the clock ticks on King reign. So it does seem like Noel King's time as manager of the under-21s is coming to an end soon. That's the way things appear, and that Robbie Keane, a couple of stories this morning, among them Dan McDonald writing that he is in the frame for that role. It's an interesting development. Obviously, it hasn't been commented on greatly. John Delaney was in Belfast yesterday launching the Euro 2023 Under-21 Championship bid alongside his Northern Ireland counterparts. Wouldn't be overly drawn on the future of Noel King. Not for today, he said, but there'll be an announcement next week on that. He's currently the manager. I'll leave it at that, and so you can read what you want into that. But the news that Robbie Keane could be the next Ireland Under-21 manager. Yeah,
that would be quite the appointment. I think it'd be a very good appointment, no? I think the more we tap into this resource that is a fantastic former playing group, the better. And the quicker we do it, the better as well. And it's great, like, these links don't happen, I would imagine, unless there's some sort of keenness on both sides. Like, it's not like Dan McDonald just picks out Robbie Keane out of the blue. Robbie Keane has obviously kind of intimated that this coaching career is something that he would like to do, and he would like to take in Ireland at some point in his coaching path. And when a player with his experience says something like that, well, you have to give them the opportunity. Like, there's plenty of examples of great players who've been great managers, and plenty of examples of great players who've been terrible managers. But there's only one way to find out. And you know, I think as a matter of habit, the FAI should be taking a chance on each and every one of these ex-pros who've achieved so much in the game. Yeah, the only thing is about Robbie Keane, and it's not a reason to not give him the job, but we just don't know anything about him as a manager. He's had no experience of it whatsoever. He's said, certainly laterally in his career, repeatedly that he does want to get into football management. So we'll see exactly how all that pans out. But we don't know anything about him, his style, his philosophy, his personality as a manager, any of those things. And I'm not saying that there are reasons not to give him the job, because I think his experience as a player and the level that he played at, which is few and far between from an Irish perspective, who knows where his star goes. It certainly wouldn't be a bad thing for the FAI, I think, to hitch themselves to early on. I've definitely been making the point over the last little while that
wouldn't it have been prudent of the current Ireland management to have given Robbie Keane at some point a call over the last few months and said, listen, it appears, because it doesn't seem like he's playing anywhere or he's any active involvement in football at the minute, like maybe he has that we don't know about, but do you want to come in for a few camps, take some of the forward sessions, let's see what you're about, like give him that sort of exposure, I think probably would also actually help his development as well. I mean, I know a lot of people are down, obviously, on Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane and all that sort of stuff, but to get some exposure to that, to their experience too, I think might not be the worst thing. And that might even be possible within that under-21 role, that it might have a reach, elsewhere. Yeah.
Like a transition year work experience programme, get Robbie Keane into the current Irish managerial setup and see how they operate. There's definitely, I've heard worse ideas than that, definitely. So I think that'd be a good shout. I think the sooner we get into a habit of that, the better in this country. That like you should be giving opportunities to these players, and you know it's favouritism towards players who've had great careers. But ultimately, as a nation that doesn't produce too many stars, I think
it's a small pot. Like
it is a pretty small pot. It's not going to be a huge kind of layer of favouritism, in my opinion. Like. Also, it seems he cares. Like, he wants to be involved with Ireland. Like, would you have been overly surprised if Robbie Keane privately was saying to himself, I don't really want to be involved with Ireland. I'm Robbie Keane. I can potentially manage in the Premier League.
I think he's a long way from managing in the Premier League.
No,
he's not like a Frank Lampard or a John Terry type character who probably, you know, could ease themselves into some sort of a high-profile coaching role.
Yeah, no, obviously if he wanted to get to the Premier League, I would say that he would have started off with a club, or would have liked to start off with a club.
Yeah, there's rugby elsewhere, and Lynch in the driving seat for Hurler of the Year, insist nominee Mannion as well. That's Donncha Boyle writing in the back page of the Irish Independent this morning. On the front page of the Irish Examiner sports section, it's crash and burn, a shot of a fairly active Devin Toner's pulling an interesting face in the background there, isn't he? It's like you know that face you pull when you're supposed to be making an effort, but you're not really. But I better let the coaches know that I'm into this, isn't he?
Yeah, I would say that he probably is actually trying his hardest. It is funny that the other two faces you can see in that photo are James Ryan and Devin Toner. Is it going to be a power struggle between the three of them for two positions over the next 12 months to lock down Ireland's second row, I wonder? Is the Irish Examiner photo editor saying something to us?
That is the front page of the Examiner. Racism row, 4 travellers quit Clare Soccer over verbal abuse inside there, and Dunn finding his way as Irish lead in Antalya. We're going to have more from that from Will O'Callaghan shortly. The Times of Ireland edition this morning, Young Guns given a chance by Schmidt. This is ahead of Ireland versus Italy in Chicago this weekend, and a shot of Kevin De Bruyne injuring his left knee towards the end of last night's Carabao Cup 4th round tie at home to Fulham. And Sterling for Sterling is the other story out here. Sterling to get 300 grand a week to stay at City. That's the Times Ireland edition. And the Irish Times is rugby all the way this morning. That's a shot of the Irish team at a Bulls match, and they're pretty into it as well. If I can get that into shot there.
What happened with Tyke Byrne at that match? At that Bulls match? I saw something on Tyke Furlong's Instagram story where Tyke Byrne got brought out to be the halftime shooter.
What?
But a prank was played on Byrne subsequently. If anybody knows, get in touch, because I was looking through the story last night and I was like, what's actually happening here?
Right.
But hilarity ensued is what I could make out from the Instagram.
You watched the Instagram story, did you?
Yeah, but it wasn't particularly clear from I don't want to say Tyke Furlong is a bad storyteller on Instagram, but I couldn't quite make out what actually was happening.
I'll have a look at that up on your through your papers. But yeah, the Irish Times this morning is Schmidt opts for mix of youth and experience for the Italy assignment, writes Jerry Thornley in Chicago there.
Back page of the Herald this morning is Keane in, King out. Changes planned as Noel heads for under-21's exit, while FAI and IFA unite for Europe bid. Larmour and Byrne to start the ball rolling. That's the Ireland team named for Chicago this weekend. You're in, Joey, says the back of the Irish Daily Mail. Carberry to start as Schmidt weighs up his reserve options, while Delaney is confident on under-21 bid. And new boy Diaz lights up City, indeed he did. Brahim Diaz scoring last night as Manchester City beat Fulham 2-0 in the Carabao Cup. A couple of grim stories this morning, leading the way on a couple of the tabloids. Back page of the Star, leading with it. Lennon abuse is anti-Irish. Neil's agent claims targeting is sectarian. Of course, Neil Lennon was hit by a coin in the Edinburgh Derby a couple of nights ago. And back page of the Mirror goes with that story as well. He's Irish, Catholic and was a Celt. Lennon agent claims Hibs boss is targeted over his background, while Schmidt praises A's story. That's their rugby story. Joey's state of mind is what the Sun say on that, but their main lead is our last respects, 12,000-mile round trip for a funeral as Fox's Stars go to Bangkok for the tribute. Back page of the Racing Post then is Villa Spark. Smith's hosts ready to ignite stuttering championship season as Aston Villa take on Bolton tonight at 7:45 in the championship. The front of the Racing Post is Play It Sam. Champion hurdle favourite Sam Crow returns at Down Royal. And then a couple of the UK back pages. The Daily Telegraph leading with the rugby. Farrell handed keys to number 10. England co-captain given playmaker role and is called the spiritual leader by Jones, and it's Simone Biles on the back of the Guardian. She leaps into history. The gold rush continues for her in Doha, despite the fact that she had a kidney stone. Incredible achievement. She's the first woman to win four all-around world titles. The GOAT of gymnastics, I think, at this point. And playing on for weak eye, Puel remembers a truly loved owner as Leicester tackle Payne.
That is the back pages this morning. A couple of comments in as well, including one here on YouTube about my comment about Devon Toner supposed to be making an effort but not really in that photograph. Says Darragh O'Toole on YouTube, like that clip of AB and Croker recently dodging marking his or anyone else's man. That's exactly what, to be fair. I mean, it takes one to know one. So
yes, yeah. Like in fairness, a lot of people got onto me there saying, "Wow, that guy's really trying hard. Tell him to relax. It's not a real competitive game."
Look, I'm all right with it. It's not as if that many people saw it anyway, right? That clip. So
just the 25,000 people.
Yeah, right. Alan Quinlan standing by. He's on his way in next. We're going to preview Ireland, Italy, and a few little bits and pieces as well outside of that. All to do with the rugby. Get your questions in for Quinny right now. But before that, Ronan O'Gara in studio last week. He was in with Joe. They were talking about Joe Schmidt and how he's viewed.
I still think it's underappreciated. I genuinely do. I think his level of detail that he brings to the whole setup is underappreciated, I think, and the work he does is probably the year they had last year, Joe, was incredible. And I think we're very quick to point out the negatives in people in the country, but I think we should be very, very grateful for what this man has done. And it's not a one-man show, believe me.
Sure.
I think from my little experience of being in the camp, it was very impressive. But Joe's work rate is huge. I think his drive, and he's probably capable of doing that because it's a national job as opposed to with test windows where he can drive it hard for 3 weeks and then hopefully sleep for 3 weeks and recover. But I think he has got great expertise in the staff, and you know, I mean, Farrell is a competitor, and I'd say he's a winner, and you know, I mean, spending a bit of time with Greg Feek, his expertise around the scrum is hugely important. His detail there, and Simon Easterby has added a lot as well, you know.
Ronan O'Gara in conversation with Joe during the week. Alan Quinlan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Adrian.
Joe Schmidt is good, is the short story from Ronan O'Gara there.
There's no doubt about that. His record kind of proves for himself how much, what he's achieved is this current group.
He talks about him being underappreciated.
And every coaching job he's had.
I'm not sure he is underappreciated.
I don't think he is.
He's
had a few critics, I suppose, with on occasions maybe with the way Ireland have played. But I think he's evolved a lot, and the team are more expansive now and more direct, and are not as direct as maybe they were before. And he's phenomenal, the achievements he's had with Ireland and the level he's brought us to. So he may be right in some ways that he was maybe underappreciated a little bit a couple of years ago, but winning the Grand Slam was probably the icing on the cake, and it summed up how good he is. I suppose the big question mark, and this keeps coming up, is the World Cup. Not just for Joe, but for Ireland. You know, I was at a couple of them, and they were disappointing. We've never been beyond the quarterfinal, so that's the aim and plan next year. There's a lot of talk about it.
And the longer it goes on, the worse it gets, right? Like, that's the thing. It becomes bigger than it is.
I just think what will it be like when we're actually in Japan next year, and everyone will be talking about. It'll be tough for the players in the squad but they're kind of obstacles that you have to get over as sports people. We've seen loads. Sports people have to kind of get the monkey off the back, if you like, you know, and you have to face that kind of challenge. But I think, you know, with the experience that we'll end up in Japan, and the quality of player that we'll have and the depth that we'll have going there, they'll be able to handle that. I just hope that the frontliners, i.e. Murray, Sexton, Furlong, these guys are fit and peaking at the time when we want them to.
So, I mean, that brings us nicely along to the game this weekend and the work that Schmidt has been doing to bring in that next layer of player, that if some of those players, it turns out, are not fit, that he has this next layer ready to go. Jerry Thornley makes the point in the Irish Times this morning about it being, the Ireland-Italy game being as meaningless as these games can ever get at international rugby. This is fairly meaningless, but the fact that Joe Schmidt has named the team that he's named of hopefuls actually gives it a bit of an edge almost. Yeah,
it does. Effectively, it's, with respect, it's an A team at the moment. Now, there's a number of guys in there that, like obviously Gary Ringrose and Bundy Aki, Stockdale, Larmour, Conway, even they could all start against Argentina and the All Blacks. So they're not. It's maybe been a bit disrespectful to them. Niall Scannell could push Rory Best.
Is that the strongest A team you've ever seen play for Ireland?
Yeah, well, I was on a few myself, and I would like to say they were strong. They were decent ones, but yeah, it's very strong. I think they're all internationals. There's no new caps. Ross Byrne, Will Addison, hopefully will get capped off the bench. Will be a good experience for them. Addison has been very good this year for Ulster, and obviously getting Ross Byrne, for him to get the green jersey on and play in international rugby will benefit him going forward. But it is a very powerful side, there's no doubt about that. Effectively, it is, people ask about November internationals, are they, what's the significance? And historically, you'd always have a bit of mixing and matching, and ultimately the Six Nations was the big one that was always coming up, and there's more pressure on that. Pressure to perform and do well in the Six Nations. November is a chance for a little bit of experimentation. Historically, when you play, tier 2 teams, you certainly get guys get capped and they get that exposure in the squad. But a lot of these guys have all been capped and they've all been in the squad for a number of years now, and I think they're all good players in their own right. So there's a number of these guys could start for Ireland against the All Blacks.
Because it's getting very late, and the All Blacks themselves have named 8 debutants, which is I haven't been out there 15 years ago where they were talking at that point about the devaluing the All Blacks jersey at that stage in terms of the number of caps that were given out. That's a phenomenal number. But I'm not sure where Steve Hansen's head is at in terms of those 8 players, or in the Irish context. It's very late in the day now for new players to be coming into the mix with a view
if you were to pick a World Cup squad now, Adrian, you probably 95% of the squad is picked, and they're in there. It's theirs to lose, really, if you like, which is not very common. As I said, I've been involved in 3 World Cups, and the build up to all those, there was maybe 60-70% of squads you could pick. This is probably one that just picks itself, and it's the guys who are there, it's probably there to lose if they have bad run of form or stuff, or do something really big in one of the big Six Nations games and lose form with their province as well. They could lose out. Ross Byrne, Tadhg, Will Addison, they're ones that kind of jump out that it's there to gain for them, possibly, you know what I mean, and they could force their way in. I think Addison has so much versatility, and just talking about the Steve Hansen one, he had 51 players at one stage in Japan for their tour, and
a World Cup squad is 34, I think.
Yeah, I think his argument is, look, nowadays there's 14, 15 internationals a year. Back in the day, there's probably 4 or 5, 6 internationals, and he's been relevant and honest in saying that. But I think he has to manage his team, and 23 of the players went to England at the start of the week. Similar, Ireland have been doing something with the number of senior players who stayed at home in Carton House. They've been training this week, so we're seeing a lot more of splitting squads and announcing big squads and splitting squads, and then the group maybe benefiting from each other when they go against each other in training. It's a huge number of players to have at one time, 51 players. He had in Japan, so I think it's part and parcel of it, and it's just the way it is. There's a number of the All Blacks, obviously 8 new caps, and it's probably building for the future. Those guys,
mad, isn't it?
It's mad. They mightn't get a run for a while, but still, I looked at their team, and there's still a lot of very good players who I've seen in Super Rugby they could probably play international rugby, be starters in many other countries. So the depth they have is phenomenal.
Yeah, building for 2023 already before bloody 2019.
Yeah, and that's just the way it's gone. And with player welfare and all that kind of stuff, and being able to rest players and rotate. We never thought we'd see the day where guys would be rotated and rested at international level. You know, and that's just the way it is.
Talk to me about that back row then. So Ruddock, Van der Flier and Conan get the nod, like the balance of it, and we'll talk about Van der Flier maybe in a bit more specifics, but the balance of that back row in terms of the greater Ireland proposition down the track.
Yeah, look, it's a very good back row. I think they've all played at different stages and been starters for Ireland, and in the big games, I think they're all probably maybe 6 and 7. Ruddock and Conan are behind O'Mahony and Stander, and that's just the reality of it. But again, there's opportunities for them to try and force their way in and keep the pressure on. It's a great headache for the coach to have so many good players. And when you name a squad like this, like you said, you don't see any chinks or weaknesses or guys who are maybe not, couldn't step up and do a job and haven't been able to do that. So we've never had this kind of depth and this experience. Jack McGrath has 50 caps. The rest now, being fair, they're averaging about 9 caps each, but still they've always been involved in big squads and stuff like that. But Ruddock, he's a really good player. He's top quality. He's had a few injuries over the years, and I think Rhys Ruddock is a guy who could slot straight in a World Cup quarter-final or semi-final, and no one would blink an eye. He's that ability. Jack Conan's the same. His form has been superb with Leinster in the last couple of years, and Stander just has the jersey at the moment. He's got to keep putting that pressure on, and like Van der Flier, he could play any one of probably 4 or 5 number 7s for Ireland at the moment. There's so much depth.
What's your
there.
power rankings of 7s of Ireland at the minute? Because the options are like...
It's difficult because they've all been... Dan Levy finished the season as kind of the Grand Slam as number 1. Then he went to Australia with an injury and didn't feature as prominently there. Sean O'Brien has had the injury. Jordy Murphy is kind of back. And he's delivered before, he's was so unlucky 2 years ago when he was played against the All Blacks in Chicago. And Van der Flier was your starting 7 last Six Nations. So I think all of those guys can keep chomping at each other, and any of the 4 can easily step up. Tommy O'Donnell, I'm really disappointed for him because, he's had no luck with his timing when he's been in the team a couple of years ago and at the World Cup when he dislocated his hip. The World Cup warm-up over in Wales, so he's been unlucky. So there's a lot of quality there at number 7, and something I've never seen. Even when I played, you probably 2, 3 guys who could play there. Some of them weren't out and out 7s. I switched over to 7 on a few occasions. Simon Easterby did, Keith Gleeson was there, Wally was there, but there was a fair bit of rotation going on, and guys could play in different positions across the back row. But these are, I suppose, Sean O'Brien and Jordy Murphy have played number 8 and 6 before. Levy probably has, and the modern day game, 6 and 7 is, quite similar.
Is it, yeah?
Well, we see Australia, the way they've accommodated Hooper and Pocock in the last couple of years. They're 2 7s effectively, and Pocock is now an 8. So
it's a bit more open play running.
Yeah, it is a little bit. You still like to have your kind of bruising 6 or whatever you want to call it. Someone who's a bit like good line-out option and maybe not as quick and is more aggressive and maybe a better ball carrier and sense that than the 7. But the way the game has gone now, it's so quick that we're seeing a lot of 6s and 7s just complement each other.
Is there any possibility whatsoever that Robbie Henshaw's watching that centre partnership on Saturday from a little bit through the fingers, where he's like, maybe potentially Aki and Ringrose could strike up something? It seems absolutely impossible that could ever happen. No, I don't think so, because no matter what happened, I think, look, ultimately, Robbie played in the first test in Australia and he played at 13 and he made a few bad reads from a timing point of view when he shot out of the line, and there was a few line breaks for Australia and they scored a try out of one of them. But I think he's just an incredible athlete. He's so strong, physical, quick. His defensive work is amazing, the way he can cover across the field.
and he's just ability to read the game. He's not your silky skills distributor, but he's just a brilliant footballer, and he runs some great lines. He's your starting. He's your starter at the moment, you know.
Yeah, it's weird in a way, isn't it, that Aki and Ringrose are playing together and ultimately fighting for the same spot?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and look, if Chris Farrell was fit, he'd probably be putting pressure on him as well. I think that's the depth that's there at centre now, and you have another number of other guys. Addison can play there, Rory Scannell can play there, Stuart McCluskey's in the squad. So there's a lot of bloody names there that you can kind of put in the mix. I think the thing that Ringrose brings is those silky skills, that ability to twist, to turn, to run incredible outside lines. His distribution is really good, and he has that bit of magic footwork as well. So he's a little bit different. Aki's kind of a really good footballer as well, who can play 12 or 13 with good effect. And so there's, at the moment, and this is at the moment, you'll probably be able to pick the pack, and then you probably pick close to the side that you pick now for New Zealand. But some of these guys could do incredibly well, and you know, if you look at the players who won't be involved at the weekend, Keane Healy will be your starting loosehead, Rory Best, Hooker, Furlong. It depends. Toner's involved, but Henderson and James Ryan are not involved. And then O'Mahony, Sean O'Brien and Stander are at home. So, you know, there's kind of a little bit of an indication there that could be the pack against Argentina next week. Yeah.
I know you have to leave us. We have a bunch of comments coming in. We'll come to them in a little bit. But I mean, it's result somewhat irrelevant almost in the context of
it is a little bit, but you know what I'd like to see, Adrian, is a kind of a ruthless edge to the team tomorrow. I think if you're looking at weaknesses or frailties that maybe we've had and vulnerability that we've shown is defensively, we've looked a bit out of sorts in the wider channels, not just in I think if you look back to the Scottish game and some issues in December or in the last Six Nations, there was some defensive frailties, and it's more of a systematic thing, communication with players, guys making, you know, bad reads themselves. I think it's not guys falling off tackles or us being blown away by teams. I think, you know, if a team builds sustained pressure and builds 20 phases, sometimes you're just caught and you applaud them and say it's a great try. You don't on the field, but when you watch it. So I think defensively we need to be robust and strong and not give up soft scores. And we've given up last year against Fiji. Similar scenario where effectively the A team played Fiji in Dublin and we needed a late penalty to win the game. You know, we conceded 3 tries. Previous November, we played Canada, we conceded 3 tries as well, you know, so, and that would irk Andy Farrell a little bit, you know, those kind of things. So if you're going to be talking about, like we have a chance to go #1 in the world in a couple of weeks, now whether we'll do it or not is another thing, but if you're up at that level and we want to be up there, you just got to make sure teams have to work their socks off to score and that it's not a defensive mistake as such. So that's an area that I'd kind of look closely at in November, and just being a bit more clinical in attack. If someone makes a line break, and invariably when you watch New Zealand, and sometimes it frustrates people when you compare, but they are the greatest rugby team that you'll ever watch. And when someone makes a line break for them, invariably there's a support player there. They just have that anticipation, and sometimes we make line breaks and you know, we watch a little bit more than anticipate, so their anticipation is superb, and you know, so there's the kind of things to work on. But we don't want to peak too soon, and you don't want to be flying it in November, flying it in Six Nations.
I don't want to see us at #1 in the world.
But you know what? I think, Adrian, why not? Yeah. I think we have the mentality now as Irish people, and we see it in all Irish sports. We have a lot more confidence. It's not a cockiness, it's a confidence that why not be the #1 world team in the world. It's a tall order, and you know, you mightn't stay there for too long because New Zealand, just if they lose a match, they invariably bounce back. But I think having that mentality of having the goal to be there, I think we've so many mentally strong players who physically, mentally, and they have a lot of resilience. They've been through a lot. A lot of these guys have lost big games, and I think they have the capability of dealing with that pressure leading on to a World Cup next year. But every team they play now are going to throw the kitchen sink at them. And that's, you know, you have to deal with that when you're out in the field.
Shot at you. Quinny, thanks a million for coming in, as always. Thanks a million for that. Ireland versus Italy, by the way, is being streamed live this Saturday. It's for free. It's on the Air Sport YouTube channel, so you can head along to Air Sport YouTube channel to check that out, free to air, and also a bunch of fixtures in the Pro 14 across the Air Sport channels over the next few days. Ulster against Benetton, That is tomorrow afternoon. Leinster at Southern Kings and Munster at the Cheetahs. So that's coming up over the weekend. So that's where those fixtures are at. The Ireland under-15 coach Jason Donoghue, meanwhile, wants more Irish youngsters to look beyond UK clubs and to go further afield to the continent. And he's been chatting to our very own Raf Diallo.
Players and the parents of the players, yes, England is an option, Scotland's an option. I still think they should look further afield. Like Sir Jack.
Actually, on that, that's something I would advocate as well. I remember even sitting in the stands I lived in Spain for a year down in Seville, and just fortunately enough, one of the games I went to, Stevie Finnan was playing right back for Espanyol. Now, injuries meant he didn't get too much game time over there, ended up coming back, I think. But do we have many scouts, or are there many scouts from abroad that come over and, like outside of, say, England and Scotland, that come over and actually look at our players, or is that something that still needs to be developed?
No, there's still scouts, but I think agents now, there's a lot more agents in the game now, especially at younger age than ever. I think that's what the agents, I think, in my opinion, I mean, a lot of them do a good job, but they should be looking further afield. And I was going to say there, alluding to Jack Bourne, when Jack Bourne went over and played in Holland, he was outstanding, and it suited him, the style of playing, getting on the ball and playing, and that was probably arguably where he played his best football. And all I'm saying is, if there's a message I'm trying to say to the parents, is look further afield. England is an option, there's no problem with that, but look further afield. There's other opportunities. Yeah. Football is it's a global game. It's a global game.
Is there worry maybe in terms of the parents obviously being further afield than England, where the language is the same and in some ways like food etc won't be too different, and there's at least you can get over quite easily, whether it's by the ferry or a plane or whatever, that maybe that's the main factor that's stopping kids going further afield?
It could be. I'm not too sure, if I'm honest. But I would look at where the best opportunity will arise for my son. And if that is Spain, or if it's Holland, Germany, it doesn't matter where. But if it's going to go and they're going to play and they're going to develop, that's where I would try to send them. That's what I would do. What's best.
Yeah, that's the Republic of Ireland under-15 coach Jason Donoghue in conversation with Raf there about the underage structures in Ireland. Here's a bit of a flavour of what's happening inside the back pages this morning. Teenage Kicks is exactly on that theme, by the way, of Irish young players and their development. It features in some of the newspapers this morning. Robbie Keane could be the gaffer. It looks though he might be about to take on the under-21 role with the Republic of Ireland. Cork GA have replaced Frank Murphy. It's the news you thought you'd never see, so we'll bring you that in just a few minutes' time. Richard Dunn is very keen on Stephen Kenny to be the next Republic of Ireland manager, certainly saying he needs to be in the conversation, and the abuse suffered by Neil Lennon on the touchline over the last couple of weeks. So that's what's going on in the back pages this morning. That Teenage Kick story is generally in relation to the under-21 bid for the European Championships for the Euros in 2023, and the announcement yesterday between the FAI and the Irish FA that they're going to go gung-ho for it, baby, and there's 7 or 8 stadia that are involved in this one. And the point that's been made across a lot of the newspapers, obviously, just about the underage structures in general and where we're at. Obviously, we have a very good under-19 crop at the minute, and so all of those sort of things are intertwined. It looks like Noel King is about to leave the under-21 job shortly. He'll probably remain within the FAI, and that Robbie Keane might be about to take that on. But it did strike up a conversation off air around these parts over the last little while, just about the underage structures and I suppose how fit for purpose they are and how much they feed into the senior team. And I suppose you could look at it and say that they, probably don't feed into it at all, that whatever philosophy we have at an underage level, ultimately a manager comes in and takes over and he plays his style, and he's not going to be hung for having to play a style of football. I suppose that's kind of alien to him. So those conversations have been ongoing, and I would have been of the view, I have to say, that you probably should have a philosophy at underage level that feeds into the senior team, that ultimately there's some sort of tangible link between all of those structures. Interestingly, I was talking to my taxi driver last night on the way home, and he was talking about, he's involved in coaching at one of the big Dublin clubs, and he was talking about one of the big Premier League clubs having a tie-in with their club, and them coming over and taking sessions and coaching and all that sort of stuff. And mentioned that at this particular club, they have a philosophy of playing which, as he puts it, was a Barcelona-esque football on the deck, bit of tiki-taka, and if I was to tell you the name of the club, you'd be astonished by it. But that ultimately, the club understands that that's their philosophy up to the point that players go into the senior team, at which point the manager will put whatever style they want on it, which, I mean, it ultimately means that all the underage structures at the club, and in our case at the country, are totally devoid of any link between the underage structures and the senior team. At a club level, it's a business thing, right? Because if you're developing a whole load of players that come through to under 21 level that are extremely good footballers, it's just a business decision. Most of them will probably can't go into your team because they can't play that type of football, but they'll end up going to Manchester Cities or Barcelona's ideally, or these bigger clubs where the club are going to make a whole pile of money out of them. It's ultimately a business decision, which was, I have to say, for me, a bit of a revelation. I'd never really considered it before.
The fact that people want to make money out of young players?
The fact that you could have an entire system at a club that had one philosophy at underage level of playing football a certain way that had no bearing on what was going on. That isn't always the case. Like, you will have clubs, obviously, like Barcelona, Manchester City, who at senior level are also trying to play that sort of football, but you have a whole bunch of other clubs who we would not consider to be especially pretty to watch, but at underage level they're doing all this amazing work.
Yeah, and is the amazing work and that kind of easy to watch philosophy, is the end game of that an export policy?
Yeah, 100%. It's like there's no other. I don't think the players they're producing are fit for purpose to go into the teams senior teams that they have.
So that is a little bit of a worrying trend. And ultimately, though, what do you suggest? Do you suggest that them play a more bland style of football at underage level so that they'll be more suited to your senior team?
I flip it the other way, but.
Like, yeah.
You see, you're talking about, I'd like to use a few random examples. You're talking about, so let's say you've all that structure in place, and then, you know, the club decide that we're giving the senior job to use some random examples, Big Sam or Mark Hughes or Tony Pulis, whatever the case might be. Like, they're not going to play tiki-taka football for you.
No, it's true. So you're suggesting that they play the same brand at senior level. Like, ultimately at senior level, it's a brand that wins and a brand that keeps you relevant and things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily blame the clubs for something like that. It's just an overall disconnect between underage and senior level in Irish football, because the disconnect exists because the senior opportunities abroad are vastly superior to the senior opportunities in this country if you're talented enough.
Well, it's a different proposition with Ireland than it is with the clubs, because it isn't a business decision, and also they have the underage coaches who we've just heard from there in the last few minutes, like, they have limited dealings actually even with the players. Like, their capacity to instill a philosophy in those players is actually limited enough. But I mean, there are other national examples, Holland obviously being a very famous one, where those philosophies exist from under 13s right the way through to the senior team, and like, it seems to work for them. I mean, in the absence of any success, and I use that term in a very broad sense, in an Irish context, it feels like it'd be worth giving something like that a go. Like, I know we have a very good crop coming through now, and maybe that sort of brushes over a multitude for the next 10 years, but just that there's some sort of a tangible, here a personality. How would you describe the personality in a positive sense of Irish football? Yeah,
it's true. It's definitely one of the fair criticisms of this team that we witness at the moment, that they just, at its very worst, you could say they have no plan.
But I mean of Irish football.
Irish football, well,
right? Like, even outside of the senior team.
There is none. Like, it's a team-by-team basis. It depends who the manager is, and should the manager have that sort of autonomy to stamp his or her own sort of style on a team, I'm not so sure, particularly at underage level. Like, do we prioritise results at underage level, or do we prioritise producing a brand of football that will lead to senior results? I would kind of lean towards the latter. Like, it was pretty cool seeing Ireland's in that penalty shootout in the summer in an underage World Cup. It's cool to see your underage teams do well, but maybe if you get used to an actual brand, and it doesn't have to be tiki-taka, it just has to be some sort of brand that's cohesive throughout the ages, then you know, you might actually end up with better results anyway. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of sense spoken there by your taxi driver in terms of that disconnect, and that kind of needs to be turned around a small bit. But ultimately, when it comes to international football, as you say, it is quite different to the club system, and it's more pronounced as well at senior levels. Like, Matt Doherty is a perfect example. Like, ideally, we'd be flipping it the other way in decades to come, where a team is playing crap football with their club and come in to play swashbuckling Irish football, but currently obviously it's the opposite way around, and you can see the detrimental effect that has on his performances, and you do wonder if they are playing a brand of football that is completely at odds with what we're playing with Ireland, then is it really the best course of action? Whereas Martin O'Neill, I'm sure, feels that with the crop of players that he has, rightly or wrongly, he feels that this is the best system to play with whatever they're actually.
Oh yeah, well, there's no connection there for him between any of like an Irish football philosophy. He's got his philosophy and he's putting it on, and actually that's kind of for me the crunch point, that it's all to do with results ultimately.
I think it's fair enough at senior level.
We'd have to accept that for a period of time at senior level, and you know the same would be true at club level if we're talking about some of these clubs, that you'd have to accept people, fans, the citizenry would have to accept for a period of time that results are probably not going to go our way. But like my point would be, they're not going our way anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, let's try something new.
Yeah, definitely. And like if you can get both, that's the ideal scenario here. We do tend to park the conversations though about a dour style of football when things are going particularly well for us.
I know, and we do, and that's perfectly natural, because it's like, sure, look, everything's absolutely fine. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff. But actually we do. Like, we need to have some sort of a discernible personality about our football and some sort of a discernible plan about where this entire thing goes over the next while. So we'll see. Stephen Kenny is one of the names that comes up in this context. He'd been touted as a potential under-21 manager over the last while, and I know Dan McDonnell on this platform last weekend, I think it was, spoke very vociferously about the idea that Stephen Kenny taking the under-21 job would be a step down, that actually he's at a very good club at the minute and doing a very good job at that very good club, and that anything sort of he'd be deferential to a senior manager obviously at that point, and that would not be the right way for him to go. But writing in the Herald this morning, Richard Dunn, you probably have it there on, comes out very strongly in favour of Stephen Kenny being in the mix for the senior job. He says that, you know, the job that he's done there, he at least deserves to be in the conversation for it. It's this type of an appointment would feed very much into if Stephen could instill the same belief into the Irish squad as he's done with Dundalk, the players would buy straight into it, writes Richard Dunn. This is the embodiment of exactly everything we're talking about.
Yes,
this is
exactly.
Sort of bringing somebody in who's got a discernible style that's fully embedded in Irish football in a way that, and this is not a criticism of him in the way that Martin O'Neill just could never be, because he's been in England too long, and that's his philosophy on football is, as he says himself, from his time at Nottingham Forest and all that sort of stuff. But Stephen Kenny is Irish football, and his appointment to the Irish senior team wouldn't necessarily be the sexy appointment that O'Neill and Keane was, or that Trapp was. Like, we do tend to go for the grey Galacticos, obviously, in a way that they wouldn't be, but actually would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Stephen Kenny is the living embodiment of what you've just been speaking about there, a discernible style of football, but with an air of pragmatism about it. Like, pragmatism doesn't always mean dour football. Pragmatism can include some very high moments, and I think Dundalk have managed to do that, particularly on their Europa League run a couple of years ago. And I think that this is the sort of person, this is the sort of style of football that would suit what is a limited enough currently pool of players down to the ground. It is a style of football that allows those players who, in an Ireland jersey right now, are down in the dumps, to build up that confidence, to see that trickle of light seep through, and, you know, get something meaningful together, get that momentum up and running. I think I'm all for the Stephen Kenny appointment at some level in the FAI. I would be of the extreme view that I'd almost parachute him straight into senior manager, but realistically under 21 is probably the most realistic thing that could happen for Stephen Kenny. Yeah,
but I mean, look, I'm not sure about that. I'm actually not sure about that. I'm not sure about
it. The FAI would put him straight in to the top job?
I mean, that's almost an impossible question to answer, but they probably should.
Yeah, I agree. He is the best manager on Irish soil right now.
Yeah.
And as you say, the knowledge of the system that operates at every level in Ireland, there goes a golden envelope flying, is crucial.
Golden envelopes, everybody. The OffTheBall Stars. Couple of other quick stories. Neil Lennon has crossed a lot of the tabloid back pages this morning for the abuse that he's been receiving over the last few weeks, and his agent has really come out strongly in his support. If you want to fire me over there, one of them. Yeah, this is the Irish Daily Mirror this morning. He's Irish Catholic and was a Celt, writes the Irish Daily Mirror this morning. Alan Marshall here, his agent, has come out to say that this is the reason he's getting all this abuse, that he got it when he first went to Dens Park, when he was a player for when he first went there for Celtic in 2000, and on it goes, he was hit by a coin, obviously, on the sideline during the week. That the point being, and I mean, I know Neil Lennon is a very divisive character and he absolutely riles opposition fans up. He certainly ain't unique in that regard in terms of being a manager, but the point being that he's entitled to sort of cup his ears to the fans as he wishes, or to do the airplane as he wishes. He shouldn't be, because of that stuff, he can be a figure of hate. I understand all of that sort of stuff, but firing a coin at him is just next level crazy.
Well, yeah, also the graffiti sprayed on the wall near Tynecastle saying "Hang Neil Lennon." Like, that's just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Like the idea as well, his agent, like, talking about Gary Caldwell's comments saying that Neil Lennon brings a lot of it on himself, kind of misses the point spectacularly, I think. Not the agent's comments, but Caldwell's comments. That, you know, if you're getting physically abused, if you're actually having your name written like that in graffiti around a stadium in which you manage at the moment, then it's a horrible situation. It's not good.
The other story we wanted to touch on was a reshuffle in Cork GAA on that I don't think we ever thought we would see coming.
Yeah, well, we kind of heard a couple of months ago that Frank Murphy was going to step down as Cork secretary, and most people were like, we'll see it when we believe it. And his successor has been appointed, Kevin O'Donovan, who has been vice chairman of Cork County Board. We've had him on the show, I think. He was definitely in the headlines a couple of years ago when he published a 25-point plan that was passed around at a Cork County Board meeting to save Cork football, which raised a lot of eyebrows and made a lot of sense. And for many counties that would be a rival of Cork, was quite a worrying sign that there might actually be light at the end of the tunnel for Cork. So for Cork football, it's a great appointment. For Cork in general, it's a great appointment. He's got a fresh new way of thinking, and you know, I'm sure Cork people will fondly remember the Frank Murphy era.
Yeah,
the legend of the legend of the county board game. I think it's
choose
fair
your
to
words
say.
carefully there, Owen. Yeah, it's 8:37 on this Friday morning. Delighted to have you along with us. Plenty of comments coming in, which we will come to very shortly. So keep those coming in, and plenty more as well to come, including we're going to open the brown envelopes for the OTB Stars.
They're gold envelopes.
All right, they're essentially brown, but let's call them gold for the purposes of the exercise. That's coming your way shortly. Will O'Callaghan standing by to bring us through all the very latest in live sport this morning. First, though, Tim Vickery was on the football show this week talking about why many Brazilians, including many high-profile footballers, are supporting the far-right president-elect Jair Bolsonaro.
Brazil is going through bad times, bad times. There is a huge problem with urban crime. And the speech of Bolsonaro, who is really he's a Cold War warrior, and the Cold War is alive and well in Brazil. He wants to clean the country of all of the communists. I have to say, I haven't found one. I can't see it. I keep looking. I can't see none of these communists. But he also wants a shoot-to-kill policy from the police. He wants. He says the policeman who doesn't kill is not a proper policeman. So it's a simple solution to a huge problem, and this is a country which at the moment is baying for blood. Now, over recent months, Bolsonaro's extreme right-wing speech has become normalised. I mean, there's all sorts of examples of his misogyny and his homophobia and so on. But mainly that idea of the only good criminal is a dead criminal, that's one that has serious traction in Brazilian society.
Yeah, worrying times in Brazil. Tim Vickery in conversation with Joe there. You can check out that full piece on our YouTube channel. It's up in podcast as well. One comment in on our Stephen Kelly conversation from Powernator on Twitter, whether Stephen Kelly should take a role within the FAI. I don't think he'd get the respect from the players, writes Powernator, in the senior team, and anything else at underage level would be a step down from him. So keep your reaction coming in. Will O'Callaghan, good morning to you.
Morning, lads.
Stephen Kenny for Ireland.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, obviously the lack of experience in, say, a top league is the biggest issue there. But then if you consider everything Stephen Kenny has achieved, you take how well his Derry City team played against PSG, you take that Dundalk have consistently over the last 4 or 5 years played really nice football. He's retained some excellent players at Dundalk over that period as well. I can't see anyone inside the domestic game who would be better set maybe since Brian Kerr to take a role in the Irish setup. Like, obviously succeeding Martin O'Neill, if that was to happen, I think there would be a lot of eyebrows raised about Stephen Kenny's lack of experience outside the league. You know, obviously a short enough stint in Scotland, but aside from that, Stephen Kenny doesn't have that kind of experience. But if the under-21 job was to come available, would you really want Robbie Keane ahead of Stephen Kenny getting that job? except for the entertainment of Robbie Keane, maybe.
I mean, there is that. That's the thing that's tugging at me here. But I mean, I don't know. We've just been discussing it there. The sense that probably Stephen Kenny would view it as a step down to be taking the Ireland under 21 gig. So is that the right?
I think if I was him, I think I'd prefer to stay at Dundalk. Like I was talking to Robbie Benson, midfielder with Dundalk last weekend, and he was saying that last year, if he's at the club and he reckons himself and quite a few of that squad now will be there, that they need to target something like getting back into the group stages of the Europa League, because next year it's well set up for them as well. They go into a Champions League qualifier, they're in the champion side of the draw, so most likely you lose, say, a Champions League qualifier, you go into the last round of qualifiers for the Europa League. It's not impossible for Dundalk to get into the Europa. Managing Dundalk in the Europa League, is that a bigger gig than the Ireland under 21 job?
Probably.
Yeah, so that's what you got to balance off. Really.
It always strikes me too that there's a peak spot for managers where, like, Stephen Kenny could be at peak Dundalk right now, and that actually taking whatever the next, I mean, the Republic of Ireland manager's job obviously is clearly the most close at hand big step up that he could possibly take, and you know, the job isn't available at the minute.
Yes, it's very important to point out that Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane are still in charge of the Irish team. They very much
are. Right. Keeper comments coming in on that. Will, where are you starting with us?
Well, Kevin De Bruyne is where we start. Brahim Diaz brace fired Man City into the EFL quarter-finals last night. The holders beat Fulham 2-0 at the Etihad to earn a trip to either Leicester or Southampton in the last 8. The win may have come at a cost, though, with De Bruyne limping out of that game with a suspected injury to his left knee. The Belgian was playing just his third game back and just his second start after damaging ligaments in his right knee back in August. Manager Pep Guardiola was asked after the game about the extent of the damage.
Kevin De Bruyne came off and he looked in some discomfort with his knee. Was it a precaution or something more serious?
No, it's a checking. It's been checking for the doctor. So right now I don't know what is nothing or something serious.
Obviously still very early stages in terms of that injury, but it's going to be interesting to see how City will get on without him if he's injured, because they seem to cope reasonably well when he was out. I guess if you have players like David Silva and maybe even Ben Foden coming through and so on, they have options. Riyad Mahrez can play in this position as well. Here at home, we're talking about the League of Ireland. Paddy McCourt's professional career comes to an end tonight. He's hoping his final 90 minutes will see Finn Harps promoted to the SSE Airtricity Premier Division. The Ballybuffet side take a 1-0 lead to Limerick for the second leg of their promotion relegation playoff. McCourt will retire after the game to take up a coaching role at Derry City's academy next season. And football writer with the Irish Independent, Dan McDonnell, says the Derry Pele was a very special talent.
It's an experience to have gone and watched Paddy McCourt play, and I'm glad that I did. Really, ultimately, that I think in terms of the last sort of 20 years, in terms of players who are just entertaining, who are just brilliant to watch, who sort of inspire you to sort of watch and like football, he's up there. And sometimes doesn't get mentioned. I think it's probably because he played his international football for Northern Ireland, that when people talk about, you know, the League of Ireland players, you know, it's a common debate, and everyone go, Kevin Doyle and Seamus Coleman and James McLean and whoever. McCourt sort of tends to just get forgotten sometimes. Yeah. When actually, if you speak to a lot of the lads from that era, you know, particularly sort of the mid-2000s and stuff, and you know, who was the best you played against, McCourt's name is the one that comes up again and again and again, and just an unbelievable natural talent.
Sometimes suffers as well from being a human highlight reel. Most people see Paddy McCourt and it's the goals for Shelburne that end up on Twitter and so on, as opposed to his general play. And I guess he's a throwback maybe to an old school 70s or 80s footballer. So
class.
It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with Derry's academy from now on as well. Bohemian's Ian Morris, he's been heavily linked with the vacant manager's position at Shelburne this morning. The 31-year-old is currently working as a youth development officer with Bowes. Shell's parted company with Owen Heary last month after they missed out on promotion from the First Division. Usain Bolt's trial with Australian football club the Central Coast Mariners has come to an end. The 8-time Olympic sprint champion joined the A-League side for the stint in August, scoring 2 goals in his first friendly game. The club say efforts to secure a commercial solution to keep the Jamaican with them have failed because he wanted more money than they could possibly offer.
Touched like a trampoline.
I was going to say, Danny Keogh was not too complimentary about Usain Bolt's talent.
No, I mean, he will sort of rock up somewhere and he'll sell a few jerseys. It's probably not the worst.
He'll end up with a Puma team,
you could make.
Guaranteed.
And about your team?
He'll end up with a team sponsored by Puma.
Oh yeah.
Almost certainly.
They offered him a contract in Malta, obviously, recently, and you know, do any League of Ireland clubs have any Puma affiliations?
Not that I know of.
We need to get on that.
Meanwhile, Rhys Ruddock, he will lead today's captain's run at Soldier Field. The Leinster flanker will captain Ireland in tomorrow night's first Autumn International against Italy. Elsewhere, there were first starts from Munster lock Tyg Byrne and Leinster fullback Jordan Larmour. Set to be first caps off the bench as well for Will Addison and Ross Byrne. Ruddock is joined in the back row by his Leinster teammates Josh van der Fleer and number 8 Jack Conan. Quinn Roux partners Tyg Byrne in the second row. Hooker Niall Scannell is joined in the front row by Leinster props Jack McGrath and Andrew Porter. Larmour starts at fullback with Andrew Conway and Jacob Stockdale manning the wings, and Gary Ringrose partners Bundy Aki in the centre. In the absence of Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton, Luke McGrath and Joey Carberry will be the three-quarter combination. It's just interesting as well, lads, when we talk about Leinster's dominance in recent times. 8 Leinster players starting in that game tomorrow, and 4 former Leinster players also starting as well. So they account 12 of the 15 are either current Leinster or former Leinster
Good
players.
point to make. Well, I'm sort of well up for endorsing that kind of thing. We didn't actually have enough.
Strange thing to say as a Connacht man, Adrian.
It just strikes me now that we didn't have enough ribbing of Quinny when he was in about that specific fact.
I'm sure he's quite happy that Munster's 2 best players are players that were deemed surplus to requirements by Leinster, and mix Andrew Conway in there as well. Munster have profited quite nicely and are getting a good scrum half next year as well. I think Quinny should be bowing down to Leinster.
Well, that's probably my point too, Will, to be honest.
What would the ribbing have been? Do you want to use the lines now?
Well, no, just that there was 12, there are essentially 12 Leinster players in that. Leinster carrying Ireland is the short story here.
Byrne, God.
Again. Tyg Byrne.
Oh, jeez.
So we're talking about.
We've reached a new level of humour this morning.
Former Ireland coach Eddie O'Sullivan's been speaking to us ahead of the game as well. He feels Saturday's match is a perfect opportunity for Jordan Larmour to prove that he's now first in line to succeed Rob Kearney as Ireland fullback.
It's kind of a position that they need to drill down into. There isn't really any evident cover for fullback since Gerard Payne retired. So Rob Kearney has been starting practically all the games over the last 20 matches. So I think this is kind of see if Larmour can handle it. And if he does well, and I would expect him to, he's a superb talent, that we might see him again maybe in one of the bigger games before the end of the autumn,
So big chance there for Jordan Larmour, particularly tomorrow night at Soldier Field, an 8 p.m. kickoff Irish time. All-Ireland champions Limerick are set to dominate the PwC All-Star Hurling Team of the Year when it's revealed tonight. It feels quite small time compared to these envelopes in front of me, but John Kiley's side provided 15 of the 45-man shortlist. Limerick's Keane Lynch battles it out for Hurler of the Year with Galway pair Joe Canning and Porrick Mannion. Mannion reckons that Lynch is in pole position to win tonight. Dara Fitzgibbon and Kyle Hayes are nominated for Young Hurler of the Year alongside Cork's Martin Coleman. The Footballer of the Year will be a Dublin player. Kieran Kilkenny, Jack McCaffrey and Brian Fenton are all shortlisted there. The 3 were named on the Team of the Year yesterday. Brian Howard, Kerry's David Clifford and Tyrone's Michael McKernan are up for Young Player of the Year, and all those will be revealed at Dublin's Convention Centre tonight. There was a ratification last night in Offaly. Kevin Martin has been reappointed as their senior hurling manager for 2019. The 2-time All-Ireland winner was ratified last night with a new look backroom team which includes former Tipperary coach Declan Fanning. Fanning worked with the Tip side that lifted Liam McCarthy in 2016. The faithful won't be playing for Liam McCarthy next year. They dropped down to the Joe McDonagh Cup after being relegated from Leinster. And the golf is just getting back underway at the Turkish Airlines Open. Paul Dunn thinks a score of 20 under par will be needed to win. The Greystones golfer holds a 1-shot lead over the field at 7 under par heading into the second round. He was happy to start with a bogey-free round of 64 yesterday.
It was nice to see some of those go in close, give myself really good looks at birdie rather than 30-40 feet, which is kind of what I've been doing recently. So nice to tighten up that area.
And just finally, the overall setup and the condition of the golf course this year?
Oh, it's perfect. I played here last year for the first time, and it was similar. It was similar setup of the golf course. It was just a little bit breezier. So now without the breeze, it's just ideal. You couldn't get a course in better condition. The greens are rolling so pure; they're not overly fast. The fairways and rough are immaculate. So it's as good as it gets really for scoring.
2 players sitting just behind Dunn at the moment, defending champion Justin Rose and Padraig Harrington, who tees off from 6 under par in the next few minutes. Harrington's back out from that score. He was 4th at the event last year and he's targeting another good finish as he tries to get on the race to Dubai.
Well, it's important for me. I'm obviously trying to push to get into the race to Dubai at this stage, and you want to start well, get yourself into a tournament and build from there. It's a lot tougher when you're hanging around the middle of the field and you're hoping to shoot a good score last day to push yourself up. Hopefully I can push on from here and keep myself in contention on Sunday. If I do that, obviously the other things will look after themselves.
Yeah, we could see Harrington back in the winners' enclosure if that's how it manifests itself over the next few days. Daggett Hire on YouTube. So, what channel is showing the Irish game? It's live on Air Sports YouTube channel. So that's where to check it out. Free to air.
I think it's on their Facebook as well, yeah.
Listen,
shown them both, yeah.
They're all over it. A few comments that have come into us. Aina Finn and Periscope. Are we underestimating Italy at all, given the performance of Benetton and Zebre this year? Not really the point, though, is it? Because it's not as if either of these teams are full teams. So
it's be Italy team as well. But like that Ireland team should pulverise Italy, realistically.
Yeah, they probably will
absolutely tear them limb from limb.
Yeah. You see what happens when he gets into a bit of fight game. He gets into a bit of fight game. Suddenly, the smack talk will is like just at hand with every little bit.
But yeah, I don't know about pulverise, but like you would be expecting that Ireland would win that comfortably enough. As much as it is a second string and kind of a youthful team and so on. Still a very decent 15 with players come off the bench as well.
Yeah. Mark into Rugby says, morning from Brisbane. Great weekend of rugby coming up. Hashtag OTBAM. Good morning to you in Brisbane. Beautiful. Darragh O'Toole, Lawrence Lalio reckons England will win at least 3, if not all 4 of their matches. How deluded is he and the English media? And Thomas O'Connell on Facebook on Tyke Byrne writes, I thought it wasn't Tyke Byrne. This is about the half-court shot last night. I thought it wasn't Byrne and just a guy that looked like him, but then it seemed it was. He had to put his forehead on a pole and run in circles on the spot to make him dizzy, and then tried to score a layup. He missed, I think. I don't know.
I don't think he made the shot, but Byrne was definitely on the court.
Furlong wasn't up to his usual Instagram story standard.
Yeah, well, there was just lack of clarity. I think I took from it that he was made to run around the pole, and then it was like, you get a chance to make the layup and you win 10 grand, and then he ran around the pole, and then they're like, sorry, you're not actually going to get the opportunity to make the layup. That's what I took from it. I'm not sure. I'm open to correction.
That's legit. It's just gone 10 to 9. Will, thanks a million for that. You didn't ask for it. You have no interest in it. You don't want it. Buckle up. Sit tight. It's time for this.
Yep, it is time for the OffTheBall Stars, the second annual OffTheBall Stars. On a scale of 1 to 1,000,000, how excited are you?
I'm pumped.
1,000,001 is what I'm hearing from
I'm pumped
this morning. You are pumped indeed. So many categories, 15 of them to bring you live this morning.
Woo!
Look
Hot
at
in here,
all
baby.
that gold dust.
Woo!
Look at all that gold dust in your face right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the categories. We're going to hopefully get on the winners of most of the categories on, and surprise them with the news that they have been the recipient of the OffTheBall Stars. Everybody who takes a call will get an OffTheBall mug. So prestigious prize on offer this morning.
So what you've done here is like we've sort of sometimes 4, 5, 6 potentially sort of nominees in each category. So each of those nominees are standing by on the phone, ready to potentially come on air.
Yes, we've got a team of 100 people working outside in a call centre to have everybody ready with bated breath. So without further ado, let's get into the second annual OffTheBall Stars, and the first category is for Rookie Football Analyst of the Year. So we've pitted the best of people who really emerged on the scene as an excellent pundit in the game of Gaelic football this summer.
Rookie Footballer Analyst of the Year, and the nominees are Michael Quinlivan, Lee Keegan, Tom Parsons and Sean Kavanagh.
The tension is palpable.
That's a good round of applause for the...
Oh, they've already started cheering, despite the fact that they don't even know who the winner is. This crowd is raucous this morning.
As well. They've been on the beer.
The Rookie Football Analyst of the Year is Michael Quinlivan.
Yes!
Wow, the crowd goes wild. Much deserved. And I think Michael joins us on the line this morning. Congratulations, Mike.
Thanks, lads. Thanks very much. I can probably tell my mother to stop setting up in Twitter accounts there now.
It was, of course, a public vote. We left it open to OffTheBall viewers and listeners to vote for it. Probably helped by the fact that pretty much all your punditry, I want to say 90% of your punditry this year was done with us on OffTheBall, so you had the hometown support.
Yeah, up against 3 of the Sunday game heavy hitters, I managed to sneak in underneath. So it's a great honour. Footballers all around the country getting ready for the All-Stars, and I get an OTB one instead. It's great.
A lot of people are saying that they're more valuable, you know. But
absolutely.
It does strike me that the vote was slightly skewed in your favour, given that it was, you know. I don't know what the crossover between our audience and the Sunday Games audience is.
I would say it's pretty. I would say it's pretty big. Who do you think would win? Like, I mean, obviously the Lee Keegan addition to the Sunday Game this year was quite high profile.
Yeah, to be honest, the other three were very, very good on the telly this year. I thought Sean Kavanagh was excellent as well, and he was probably the only one to pick the Super 8 some way right. And hopefully you might see Keegan and Tom Parsons back on it again next year as well.
You're looking at the game, Michael, you're very much involved and still have a bloody long career ahead of you. You're looking at the game with a tactical eye in a way that has definitely impressed us about here. Has that always been something for you, that you've sort of had that eye on football?
I don't know really, to be honest. I spent a lot of time listening to my dad analyse matches after games, so maybe I picked up a thing or two from him.
And what sort of thing is he talking about? Because, I mean, you know, sometimes analysis can be, that guy's an idiot and that fella just doesn't know what he's doing, or that fella's asleep. So, like, what sort of stuff is your dad talking about?
I don't know. It'd be more kind of the shape and how a team are playing, and I think trying to get past the emotion of this lad's trying to play, this lad's playing well, this lad isn't, and actually analysing what they're trying to do for a team. And maybe being able to see past, you know, just this lad has kicked the point, he's playing well, whereas there could be 3 or 4 things that have happened in the build up to that it's allowed him to do it, and I think you appreciate it a bit more when you're playing. You can kind of
personally enjoy the success, enjoy tonight, go and celebrate, and thanks for taking the call.
Really looking forward to the mug, lads. Thanks very much.
Michael Quinlivan there, winner of our further degree in the OFTBAL Stars.
And Matthew O'Hanlon.
Oh, this is a tough one.
Kemi, who obviously are still happy enough to listen to my choice. So I think that might have thrown it a bit against Derek McGrath. If Derek had a Twitter handle and had something out there, I think things might have gone a small bit differently for me.
Let's get serious now for a second. So, like, in terms of the overall Jamie Wall career path, you're obviously deep in coaching, and I know, speaking to you, how important that is to you, and speaking to some of the players that you've coached, how good you are at it. What's the future going to hold for Jamie Wall?
Well, look, to be honest, like you said, getting serious for a second, I enjoyed the small bit of, I suppose, a bit of giving my tuppence worth on things and having an opinion, and that anyone who knows me knows that I have that anyway. So I do enjoy that side of things, but I suppose, look, obviously the priority, and I suppose what I'd like to be doing is to be involved at ground level, you know, coaching and stuff. So I suppose that's the plan, and that's kind of what we're doing. I'm back with Mary I coaching this year in the college, alongside kind of I'm studying at the moment. I'm gone back to college myself in UL, so studying in Mary I alongside that, or coaching in Mary I alongside the study, and I'll be involved with the Cork under-16s now next year, kind of the same group I had with the under-15s last year, and then we'll kind of see about everything else down the line. There's no kind of decisions made. We're only a week or two out of the club championship with Kilmallock, you know, which is an experience I really, really enjoyed. And I suppose we just have to kind of, I suppose, you know, every club has the same, kind of has its own twist on how they do things at the end of every year and stuff. So we're just holding tough on that next week or two, just to see and to let that kind of process play itself out one way or another. And after that, then we'll see what's happening. But, you know, like the kind of, I suppose, like you said, the career path with the coaching is that, you know, things have gone relatively smoothly so far. I've enjoyed every experience I've been in so far, which is great. I haven't had anything that's really, you know, turned me off it. Like, so far I'm really enjoying it, and that's probably, to be honest, that's the most important thing. It's not even probably the most important thing, it's definitely the most important thing. It's something that, you know, obviously circumstance has thrown at me a bit earlier than I'd have liked, but it's something that I really, really enjoyed doing, so I'm certainly going to keep trying to do it anyway. And as long as people are happy to keep listening to me in terms of listening to my choice when it comes to commenting on stuff, but also listening to me when it comes to to doing a bit on the field and stuff, you know, I'm certainly going to keep at it, and it's something that I'm really enjoying.
Well, if that answer is to go by, Jamie, you have a long career in management, because you've spoken there for about 2 minutes, and I'm still none the wiser about the question I asked. So I'm sure that that's my rubber stamp for you as a potential hurling manager at a senior inter-county level down the track. But listen, congratulations again. You're also getting the award for the most excited about winning an award.
Am I the most excited so far?
We're only too deep. I'm
writing that one off already. That's it, done.
Well, like, it'd be hard enough to get Quinlivan started about anything really now. So it's hard enough to get
Congratulations, Jamie.
playing matches, let alone win more.
Come on, well done.
Down, Adrian.
Well done.
It's, Jamie Drama there, accepting Rookie Hurling Analyst of the Year. Let's move on to award number 3. It's probably one of the most interesting ones. It's Controversial Saga of the Year. So anything that brought a little bit of controversy, that got a little bit of discourse going this summer, then you've been nominated for this award.
And the nominees are Newbridge or Nowhere, the Liam Miller Tribute Match controversy, Donegal versus Dublin venue controversy, Hate Mail controversy, Offaly managerial controversy.
And the winner of Controversial Saga of the Year, it was an absolute whitewash. An absolute whitewash. Congratulations, Newbridge or Nowhere.
Yes.
Absolute banker to win this award. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from Newbridge or Nowhere to join us on the line this morning.
Yeah. I mean, hate mail controversy. Was that really a controversy? I don't know if that was in. I don't know if that category fitted that.
Well, it was Controversial Saga, and it was Saga.
Saga is different to a controversy, though.
That's why I changed it from Controversy of the Year to Controversial Saga.
I'm with you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Fair enough. Yeah.
So congratulations to everybody involved. Newbridge and Nowhere. Keane O'Neill. We can pick up his off the ball mug some other time. Award number 4.
You're already opening the.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, hang on. Let's have a bit of transparency about this. Hang on.
Award. I haven't seen it actually.
Jesus Christ.
Award number 4 is Comeback of the Year. This is basically, as it says in the pin, across both codes, a team that came back from the pits of hell to resurrect a win.
And the nominees are Armagh versus Clare, Limerick versus Cork, Tip versus Waterford, Tip versus Cork, Bernard Brogan.
Who is it going to be, or what is it going to be? And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Limerick versus Cork. An outstanding
well done, Limerick versus Cork.
6 or 7 point turnaround.
6 points, yeah.
6 point turnaround.
10 minutes.
It got given the award based on the fact that it was in such the white heat of battle. The season was over, and it was over in high-profile circumstances. Cork were set to go through to an All-Ireland final, and the fact that they managed to turn it around and go on to win the All-Ireland is what won this for Limerick. The Armagh comeback against Clare was absolutely outrageous as well. That was bizarre, but it didn't really have the fanfare around it. Was there as much pressure on as there was Limerick? There was huge pressure on it. Their season was on the line. That's why it was nominated, but Limerick pipping them to the post. So congratulations.
Cork, I feel sorry for.
Yeah,
the feature twice in this list is just shite.
It is bad. Well, Tip, they made 2 extraordinary comebacks and didn't even get out of the province, so I'm not sure who you feel worse about. But anyway, congratulations to all in Limerick. I'm sure that is the highlight of everybody in Limerick hurling's year, is winning that award for Comeback of the Year. So our next award is Emotional Moment of the Year, a moment in the GAA calendar that made you well up a little bit, or that showed a lot of passion, or that showed a lot of happiness. Anything that showed extraordinary emotion has been nominated.
And the nominees are Michael Lister Leicester, depending on where part of the country you're from, his last Sunday game, Keane Lynch embracing his mammy, Waterford winning a championship football game, Derek McGrath's resignation, Salt Hill pitch invasion when Monaghan beat Galway, and Clare beating Tip in Semple for the first time in 90 years.
What a shortlist. What an emotional summer.
I mean, it's long. It's definitely long.
Oh, God. 2018, the year of the emotion. And the winner of Emotional Moment of the Year is Keane Lynch embracing his mammy.
Oh, look at that.
Congratulations to all involved. Unfortunately, Keane is unavailable to take call at this time. He's on another line waiting to see if he's in the mix for Hurler of the Year, so he can't put him onto this line. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to bring you Keane talking about winning that particular award. But congratulations, Keane Lynch, and congratulations to Valerie Lynch as well. A truly emotional moment in what was an emotional year. I'm not going to open that envelope.
No, Michael Lister Leicester's last Sunday game wasn't as emotional as I had actually expected it to be.
There was like a burst water dam above his head. Remember?
Huh?
Remember the water bursting?
Oh yeah. I was thinking more of the live game sort of tribute that was paid, and Pat Spillane went off in a bit of a soliloquy. Yeah, but there was no tears, or it wasn't like emotional, really.
Wouldn't be like Pat Spillane to kill an emotional moment. So our next award is Shock of the Year. Another one that basically says what it is on the tin. Well, it is what it says on the tin, rather. And a moment that shocked us, a result that shocked us, an underdog, a plucky underdog, beating somebody who was heavily favoured.
And the nominees are Fermanagh beating Monaghan, Kildare beating Mayo, Carlow beating Kildare, Longford beating Meath.
Yes, 4 shocks there this year, all in football. It's almost as if hurling is a good championship structure where, you know, massive shocks shouldn't exist. But we got 4 of them in football this year, actually, which wasn't a bad innings. And the winner of Shock of the Year is Carlow beating Kildare.
All right.
What a moment that was for everybody in Carlow down in Tullamore. There might be more from that later on. There's another Carlow-related nomination in a different category.
Right.
So we'll be revisiting that Shock of the Year very shortly, but congratulations.
Somebody else might be prepared to take a call, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. the people, the beavers outside working on these phone lines are working tirelessly. So congratulations to Turlough O'Brien and to Stephen Poacher and to all the team there on beating Kildare. Great moment this summer.
Longford beating Meath wasn't even really a shock, though, to be fair. I mean, I know what you're saying is about the hurling, obviously it's hard to pluck, but I mean, that wasn't, you're just shoehorning shit in there.
We couldn't do a category with 3 nominees.
I think you've done previous ones there with 3.
Oh yeah, good point. Rookie hurling analyst of the year. Anyway, round number 7, or category number 7, is the Only in the GAA award, which is things that could only happen in the GAA.
And the nominees are Owen Doyle receiving a 2nd yellow card for not wearing a gum shield, pre-season tournaments being completed during the actual season, the Leinster hurling final replay taking place in Munster, and Division 4 games getting totally unfilled due to weather.
And the winner is, sure, totally unfilled means.
Neither do I, but
unfulfilled, I think,
get the gist
fixtures.
Of it,
the winner of the Only in the GAA award is pre-season tournaments being completed during the actual season. Given this is an inanimate object, there is nobody to take a call for this award, but congratulations to pre-season tournaments taking place during the actual season. Big shout out to the FBD League. Didn't the Dr. McKenna Cup take place during the league? Right. It's like, let's go back to pre-season there for one weekend, which I found particularly hilarious. Category number 8.
It's outrageous, by the way, that the Division 4 games not being completed didn't win that award. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
that's another level of crazy.
If you can't just postpone a game, just cancel it. It's not like it's competitive competition or anything. Category number 8 is my favourite category by a long shot, and it's going to be your favourite category as well. It's Radio Commentary of the Year. I'm not really going to say anything more about this. I think we're going to let Adrian and the great voices from around the country take it away.
Okay, very good. The nominees for Radio Commentary of the Year are Tim Moynihan and Ambrose O'Donovan on Radio Kerry during Monaghan's draw with Kerry.
Brian Kelly comes outside the 21. He'll pass to David Moran. David Moran needs no more urgency now. That ball needs to get to the other side of the field. Now Micheál Burns in the middle of the park. Micheál will put it out to Gavin White. Gavin with a burst of speed puts the ball out to James O'Donoghue. James had put a high and mighty ball in, looking for Kieran Donny. Kieran being held inside. Kerry still have it. It's a goal! It's a goal! It's a goal! A goal by Kerry. David Clifford, the far side. And who does it? David Clifford. David Clifford has salvaged something. It's 117 to 117, Ambrose.
Now we'll go from the jugular, Tim. That's a fantastic ball. High ball in from James O'Donoghue.
No more than Kerry.
We have Donal O'Grady and Don O'Sullivan on Live 95 FM during Limerick's win over Cork in the All-Ireland hurling semi-final.
The pharmacist. Some medicine in this if he puts it in. 130 to 129. Shane Dowling lifts this and strikes this. Has to strike it before it hits the 21. Strikes it to the back of the net. And Shane Dowling leaves the hill 16 with the fist pump, and Cool goes up on the scoreboard.
What an impact, Dowling! He had the balls to go for it, and by God did he stick it.
Pat Ryan down to Doon, all the way across the far side of the ball, made outside in the CBS. Pat Ryan in long end line, ahead of his man as he tries to pick it up. Pat Ryan he'll finish it here if it goes towards the net. Pat Ryan
goal for the wreck, Pat Ryan!
He wants the referee part of the way, blows the final whistle. Limerick are in the All-Ireland final on August 19th. Limerick 332, Cork 231.
He had me at the pharmacist. We have Sil O'Connor and Tommy Guilfoyle on Clare FM during Clare's win over Tipperary in the Munster Championship.
Keep it in play, keep it in play.
Attack the ball, goes across. Oh,
Peter Duggan sends it over the bar. The boys round on the sideline, sending it in, sending it over. 75 minutes on the clock. The ball is poked out fast, out to this side of the field. And Clare have won the Munster Championship game here in absolutely dramatic couple of moments here, right throughout the 70 minutes. Tommy Gilfoyle was hopping on the sideline. We hope you heard everything. But Clare pulling this one out of the fire here in Simple Stadium in Thurles. A magnificent victory. And what a game. And what a focus they kept on the game all the time. So many players playing such a huge part in it. But if you're going to win a game, what a way to win it.
It was dramatic. Brendan Hennessy and Willie Quinlan on KCLR during Carlow's win over Kildare in the Leinster Football Championship.
And there's a hand in there from the Kildare man, but it's gone to John Murphy. Look who's coming forward, Horse Lawler. He can wrap it up in Tullamore. Horse goes for the shot. It's a goal! Goes to the yes! What a goal! Oh my word! Carlow have blown Kildare away. They've blown them away in Tullamore. The Kildare crowd are leaving. They thought they were playing no one today. They wrote us off on Twitter. They wrote them off everywhere. 214 to 110. This is Carlow's day. I hope we're enjoying this one.
And finally, Willie Hegarty on Shannonside during Leitrim's win over New York.
Can Leitrim win it by a point? On the 50-yard line, they're coming. McGovern has it inside to the substitute. This can win it for Leitrim. It's kicked in. Leitrim leads. Leitrim have taken the lead in Gaelic Park in New York. Noel Plunkett has kicked it over the bar. And Leitrim, who were dead and buried, have 8 seconds. Leitrim lead by a point. Leitrim 19 points. New York 115. It's a free out for New York. And the 1 minute is up. Leitrim are out of the championship into the quarter-finals and they're about to survive. New York are coming. They have a free for themselves and the time is up. It's the last play of the game. We have played 12 minutes of the second period in the most dramatic finishes of all times of a Gaelic football match. And Leitrim, it looks like they have survived by the skin of their teeth. It's all over. It's all over. Leitrim have survived by the skin of their teeth.
Decision time. Who is it going to be? An unbelievably competitive category this year. So much drama. The winner of Radio Commentary of the Year. They wrote him off on Twitter. They wrote him off everywhere. It's Brendan Hennessy and Willie Quinlan during Carlow versus Kildare on KCLR. Congratulations, Brendan. You're on the line. How are things?
Thanks very much, lads. I'm delighted to hear that. Thanks a million. But you said it rightly there. There was great competition. It was actually very entertaining to hear all the lads from all over the country. We only meet every now and again, but to hear them all, it was brilliant, especially Willie from New York and all. It's great and it's enjoyable. But thanks very much. I'm delighted with that.
Yeah, it was an incredible moment. It was obviously an incredible game itself and an incredible moment for all the Carlow fans. And I think Willie in the background in that commentary just encapsulates it, just the primal scream of a Carlow fan who hadn't got a win over Kildare in decades and decades and decades.
Yeah, he did. He epitomised everything. It was that, like, we're out so often. Willie's working on the games with me a long time, and we've seen a lot more defeats than successes. You know, Carlow being a so-called weaker county, but they've really proved themselves in the last 2 years, and it means a lot to people like Willie, who are former players and still has the passion for the game. And, you know, we call it as we see it. And I think I said it right in the end. And I have lots of great friends in Kildare and great people. But I had told a few people that Carlow are going to be a surprise packet in the Kildare match. And for us, not a surprise, but we felt that they could win the game. We believed they could win the game, and they did win the game. And we thought that, but nobody in Kildare gave Carlow hope because of their past history. We had to go way back to the 50s when Carlow were successful in Division 1 when they were beating teams like Kerry and all the big teams. But this was a long time coming, and it wasn't an overnight success. Like the previous year, they were only knocked out by Monaghan by a point out of the championship, and you know, they gave Dublin a fair old rattle in Portlaoise. So these fellas have been coming, and they gave us a few great days out, and we've had some miserable ones over the years. We came home so disappointed from many games in the 23 years that I'm broadcasting Carlow matches, and that day they're few and far between, so we took it when we got it.
And the beauty, Brendan, of local radio obviously is there's no requirement to hide your partisanship. It's all in.
Well, the funny thing about it, and I think the lads know and off the ball in the past, the part of Carlow I'm from is Grey Cullen. We actually play in Laois, so I do get a bit of ribbon over being a Laois man as well. But there was no hiding it. I mean, we're all a great community, the same as every community in parish. in the place. No, there was no filter that day, and the fact we believed they could do it and they did was brilliant, and it gave Carlow people a tremendous summer, and even while that was brilliant for the footballers, for hurlers was a great summer. So for Carlow GA supporters, they probably had one of their best years ever, and that'd be a fair comment, I think.
Will they build in it next year, Brendan?
Yeah, they certainly can. I think they will. Division 3 for the footballers is the target. And I think to sustain Division 3 status is the number one priority. And for the Carlow hurlers, who've been fantastic, been in the John McDonagh, they have a big step up now to playing Division 1B. And I think the lads are capable of probably winning 2 to 3 games in 1B. But the big ask then is the move from the John McDonagh to the Leinster Championship, which is a big, big ask. And I know Galway haven't got any matches at home over the years, and they talked about that. But ironically, for Carlow, their very first game is travelling to Galway. Now, that's not going to be easy. And, you know, they're coming up against teams in the league, as is the Galways, the Waterfords in 1B. And that's a big, big step up, with all due respect to all the teams that played in the John McDonagh. So Carlow people will have great times out. It will be difficult for the hurlers. It will be difficult. But the footballers, I think, will hold their own with anybody at the moment. And I do think that the hurlers can cause a few surprises in the Alliance National Hurling League Division 1B and hopefully acquit themselves very well in the Championship 2019.
Well, let's hope we get more moments like we got this summer. Brendan, congratulations, and pass that our congratulations to Willie as well.
Yeah, certainly will. He was on the phone to me a few moments ago, so I'd say he'd be absolutely delighted. And thanks a million, lads, and thanks for everything over the years. It's a pleasure, and well done on the show. It's fantastic, and thanks very much. We are delighted with that, so we'll take this as an All-Ireland for Carlow.
Absolutely.
Good, well done.
Let's go for back-to-back next year. Brendan Hennessy there, proud recipient of Radio Commentary of the Year.
There won't be a something in Carlow tonight.
There won't be...
a weird jersey washed.
There won't be a lily white crushed in Carlow tonight, is what Brendan Hennessy is going to say, because, you know, that's a matter of...
That's something they do, though. I mean, you know.
But they do it now, don't they? Beef of the Year is category number 9, and I'm not sure it's been a good year for the beef or a bad year for the beef, but anyway, any sort of...
Some beef got quashed.
Yes, any tension that existed between two high-profile parties is what constituted beef.
And the nominees are Dublin GA versus RTE over match tapes, Sean Kavanagh versus Tyrone over good, honest punditry, John Heslin versus Brian Fenton over recovery methods, and Dublin City Council versus Dublin supporters over Halfpenny Bridge banner.
What a lineup you have. And the winner...
Such tension.
Beef of the Year is Sean Kavanagh versus Tyrone Senior Management over actual good, honest punditry. Won the award based on the elongation of the beef that happened to go on for a couple of months here. Sean Kavanagh having he called it like it was with Tyrone, and the Tyrone management came out swinging and had to go back at Sean Kavanagh. It got added points for the fact that it was infighting, the fact that it was Heslin versus Brian Fenton on Twitter.
What was that about? I can't remember that one. Recovery
Fenton posted something about some fancy pharmaceutical device that he had. He's delighted to be recovering with at whatever. And John Heslin's like, my recovery method is milking the cows or whatever it was. He posted some photo on the farm. Dublin GA versus RT or the match tapes was good, but Dublin needed to hold out and not talk to RT for a bit longer and to make it a real beef, but it was good enough to make it.
Was beef quashed there?
And beef was quashed there, yeah.
Right.
And Dublin City Council versus Dublin supporters, just a little bit of feedback of that. The banner was ugly as hell, so there was no real beef.
Yeah.
The Dublin City Council were quite correct to remove that, so congratulations.
It's more like corned beef, that one.
Yeah, I would say so. So congratulations to Sean Kavanagh
Did they quash
and
their
Tyrone
beef?
Senior Management.
Kavanagh and Tyrone?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I just don't know.
I think it peters out.
Sick of that analogy.
It's the best beef. The best way beef gets quashed is it just peters out.
Yes. Let's move on to the Innovation Award and get the hell away from any meat-related analogies. The Innovation Award rewards those who thought outside the box and brought new ways of thinking to GAA this summer.
The Innovation Award nominees are Graham Brody's fly goalkeeping, TG Carr putting replays into a little box in the corner of the screen, Keane Lynch managing to complete the Dele Alli celebration after winning the All-Ireland, and narrowing the Healy Park pitch before Dublin's visit in the Super 8s.
Oh, this is a tough category. I can confirm that it was as close as any category today. The award for innovation. And the Innovation Award goes to narrowing the Healy Park pitch before Dublin's visit to the Super 8s. Congratulations. Now, unfortunately, there's no one here to claim the award. Tyrone said it's Sky Sports Award to accept, while Sky Sports are saying it's Tyrone's award to accept. So we'll have to get to the bottom of that one sooner rather than later. But congratulations to whoever was responsible for narrowing the Healy Park pitch. A masterstroke and a great show of innovation this summer. Now, moving swiftly on to Score of the Year. This is basically across both codes. The best goal or point that was scored.
And the nominees are Peter Duggan, point against Galway. Joe Canning, goal against Limerick. Daniel Flynn, goal against Monaghan. McManus, point against Tyrone. And David Clifford's goal against Monaghan.
Quite the scores there. There could only be one winner though. Score of the Year goes to Peter Duggan for that point against Galway, which was just a moment of absolute magic. We were speaking to him about it a couple of months ago, and he says that he's actually practiced things like that on the training pitch.
Wow, I'm very surprised to hear that, because it did feel as if he was not always entirely in control of the movement.
Yeah, well, I think it was kind of based on instinct completely. It just happened too quickly for him to be able to think about it too deeply. But he says that it's happened to him before.
The finish he practiced, is it? Because the other stuff was so, it's very difficult to practice the other stuff.
Impossible, yeah. I don't know. We should probably ask him about that again some other time. But yeah, he's obviously scored brilliant other points as well. That one from the sideline against Tip earlier on in the summer was outrageous, and that whole category was brilliant.
That should have been that point, the second best point, which in itself was amazing, that featured on the Sunday Games Moments of the Year.
Was that one?
Yeah. That should have been in your controversial saga.
They scored the year and Sunday Game. Yeah, it should have been actually, but there's always time we can...
We do a retake on that one?
No. The next award is Young Player of the Year. Now, this award, as I say, it's Young Player of the Year, not Young Hurler or Footballer. We put this up across both codes, and we put it into semi-finals and finals. We put the semi-finals up on Instagram in our story a couple of days ago at Off the Ball, if you're not following us on Instagram. And we've got our finalists. The three people who were knocked out at the semi-final stage were Dara Fitzgibbon, Michael McKernan and Mark Coleman. So our finalists were Kyle Hayes. Sorry, you can
He's just screwed the format here. The nominees, finalists, Owen is calling them, are Kyle Hayes, David Clifford and Brian Howard.
This went to a Twitter vote, so you, the people, voted, and the Young Player of the Year across both codes is David Clifford. Congratulations to David Clifford with 43% of the vote. Brian Howard coming in second with 36% of the vote. Kyle Hayes coming in with 21%.
Do you go with that?
Probably would. It's very harsh on Kyle Hayes.
That's what I think, isn't it?
It's like
man of the match in the Ireland final.
Yeah. It's because the argument
versus a player who didn't even get to an Ireland final.
Yeah, but it's still one player, you know. It's just because he's somebody. Yeah, I see your point.
He was only on there because you're from Kerry anyway to begin with.
No, it's based on the actual nominations. Literally, the actual GA, GPA, PwC All-Star Award nominations. We based it on facts. There's no bias here. But I would have picked David Clifford anyway.
We have some complaints coming in. I think we'll get to these complaints. Feel free to keep them, because there's a lot to complain about. Do feel free to keep them coming in over the next few minutes, and we'll come to them at the end.
We've only got a couple of more awards left.
Thankfully.
Category number 13 is Refereeing Calamity of the Year. So any ref who didn't do himself justice this year.
And the nominees are late free in the Tyrone versus Meath game, Tipperary's ghost goal, David Reedy's bullshit red card for Clare, and James McGrath.
And the winner is... There really could be only one here. There was a standout. It's Tipperary's ghost goal, which basically gave the nail in the coffin of Waterford. Poor Derek McGrath. If it tied him with our emotional moment of the year as well, but he's resigned. Has they survived? Who knows? Who knows what will happen? But anyway, congratulations to Tipperary Ghost Goal, Refereeing Calamity of the Year. Now we're on to our two big awards, Hurler of the Year and Footballer of the Year. We're going to start with Hurler of the Year, and basically this award is given to the best hurler of the year.
And the nominees as such are Keane Lynch, Padraig Mannion and Joe Canning.
I'm nervous. Who is going to be the Off the Ball Star winner for Hurler of the Year? It's the All-Ireland winner. It's Keane Lynch. Massive congratulations to Keane. We'll hopefully be joined by Keane very shortly for him to accept his award, but I'm sure he's busy celebrating.
He's won a couple of awards this morning. He'll have to leave them somewhere before he goes in the piss later on.
He can just, drink his water out of an off-the-ball
drink, actually. So before he goes out in the town, use the expression.
That's what I said. Once he drinks his water.
Sorry.
We move on to our final award of the year. It's Footballer of the Year. It's based again on the PWCG GPA All-Star Award nominees for this category.
And the nominees are Kieran Kilkenny, Jack McCaffrey, and Brian Fenton.
And the winner of Footballer of the Year is Jack McCaffrey, an outsider. He couldn't make it. He's busy at work. He says he's delighted with this prestigious award. I'm sure he is. Will he pick up the award later on tonight? The other award, the less important awards? I'm not so sure. He's probably the bookie's outsider, but congratulations to Jack McCaffrey, man of the match in the All-Ireland semi-final and All-Ireland final, which is more than reason enough to give somebody All-Star for Footballer of the Year, or Off-the-Ball Star, I should say, for Footballer of the Year.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time with the Off-the-Ball Stars.
Do we want to do a couple of sort of responses here?
Well, just before we wrap up our broadcast for this evening, of course, you've only been watching the highlights of the Off-the-Ball Stars. It was a packed ceremony that lasted hours and hours and hours and hours. Here are some of the awards that were handed out earlier. The Pointless Provincial Championship Award was won by the Leinster Football Championship. This is the 8th consecutive year the Leinster Football Championship has picked up this award. The GAA Jersey Showing Up in Weird Places Award was won by Kerry Jersey at the Masters, holding off stiff competition from Guy and Kerry Jersey in French Montana music video and Guy and Kerry Jersey at Ryder Cup. The Science Award for Defying Physics went to Rory Began and his massive foot. The Political Appearance of the Year went to Arlene Foster, fending off the worthy challenge from snoozing Danny Healy-Rae. The Bromance of the Year award was won by Gareth Brooks and Aidan O'Shea. The Sound Man award was won by JP McManus for his donation to GAA clubs all around Ireland. The Heroic Performance on a GAA Pitch award was won by Diarmuid O'Connor for his showing at St Conleth's Park. The Shite Performance on a GAA Pitch award was won by Michael Bublé for his showing at Croke Park. The Cliché of the Year was won by the Paddy Tally Effect, fending off hurling is a far better sport than X. The Pen in the Hole award was won by The Snow. And the Very Unpredictable Yet Very Predictable Event award was won by Diarmuid Connolly, leaving the Dublin panel for the year to go live in Boston.
Yeah, fair play. Some good awards there, wasn't it?
Keep it going, the crowd. God, you've been a great crowd this evening.
Some people are not happy. I mean, the crowd are delighted, clearly, but some people are not happy.
Why?
Well, Tom Nash on Facebook says, "What, lads? Beef of the year, not even a nomination for the Carlow football manager, in brackets name unknown, versus Joe Brawley. What of Newbridge or nowhere? Surely deserves the fabrication of some kind of category."
They won the first category.
It did, to be fair.
They won
Tom Nash
controversial saga of the year.
the very start of the show.
Well, to be fair,
sometimes that happens. You come in, you're making the popcorn, the Coke is on ice, and
yeah, it happens to me on Oscars night all the time. I always miss the first couple of categories.
Sleep it out a little bit. Like John Carroll is wondering, where's the jersey of the year?
Good shout. Why didn't we do jersey of the year? Kerry, obviously.
Japan for me.
Here we go again. I was actually going to put in controversial scandal of the year. Actually, should have been the World Cup final clashing with the first round of the Super 8s.
Another great category. Maybe there needs to be like a.
We did have controversial saga of the year. Newbridge and Nowhere won it.
OffTheBall Stars, After Dark, or whatever the sort of
Yeah,
what's the X Factor sort of
the extra factor? Yeah. Or Britain's Got More Talent.
Yeah,
but for OffTheBall Stars, I don't know what.
And Isil Cody on Twitter says that it's an absolute disgrace. Beef of the year, surely Owen Sheehan, Tony, the latter not being able to eat beef unless through a straw following the bout.
The latter being Tony. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah. That is correct.
Eating beef through a straw.
It's okay though. I heard beef smoothies are nice.
Are we done?
We are done.
Wow.
We are done. It has been emotional.
I've enjoyed that no end on.
Well, you know, I enjoyed it too. I really did. I especially enjoyed the great feedback and your great body language. You were very enthusiastic about it, Adrian. Thank you.
OTB AM, by the way, of course, is live at screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. And we've obviously big plans for the weekend. Most of mine are going to be trying to follow the ongoing saga, controversial saga, the beef that's been coming up over the last week, 10 days between the young Mr. Sheehan and the notorious Tony McGregor. So that's been ongoing, and we do have some final breaking news to take you into your weekend with a bang.
Oh my God.
His name is spelled correctly. He's got a suit on. He's actually looking a little bit like Pep Guardiola. So that's Tony McGregor on the left. Wow.
That's an interesting photograph, isn't it?
Like Dan Jackson, who is an OTB AM viewer, listener, put that together, and it's effing exceptional.
Dan Jackson should get paid to work with us.
And he made the first one as well. But to be fair, he spelled your name incorrectly the first time, but that's better.
Yeah, that looks good.
What's this Proper 12 stuff? Have we signed off on this sort of branding yet? Like, what's this? What's going on here?
Yeah, but it's basically pissing a bottle.
He's slying that stuff in.
That's what it is.
That's not what I hear, Owen. I've heard a lot of very positive. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are very much fans of Proper 12 whiskey. I'm sure it's a lovely whiskey.
It's a reputable brand.
I'm sure it's a very reputable brand.
Yeah, as opposed to the unreputable piss and bottle brands.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there are many whiskies are available. How do we extricate ourselves from this one? So there's a press conference. Is this what's happening?
Well, my life is one big press conference. The trash talk season has started, and it's where I come into my own. Of course, when I'm not, punching heads in, I'm verbally punching heads in.
When are you going to start training?
My life is one big training camp. Sitting here, I'm psychologically training.
Right.
Born ready.
So yeah, very good. Well, the train is in motion, it seems.
What is in motion?
The train. There hasn't been any official announcement just yet, but talks are afoot, to recap.
His people are pretty hard people to deal with. My people are pretty hard people to deal with as well. I just want the best deal for me and the best deal for my future.
Do your people have to go through Audiatar as well, or is there somebody else working in the background?
Audiatar goes through my people.
Right, okay. Very good. Watch this space. Later today on Off the Ball, the Friday betting show is going to be live from 12:30. Friday Night Racing at 3 o'clock. Johnny Ward and Willie McCreary are in studio for that. Brian O'Driscoll is in studio later today as well, so keep an eye out for that one. Ahead of the big weekend, of course, of rugby. Don't forget, you can check out that Ireland-Italy game. It's on the Air Sport YouTube channel. It's free to watch as well, so check that out there. And on the radio tonight from 7 o'clock, we're going to be bringing you the crappy quiz. So all that coming your way, but for myself and the young Mr. Sheehan for this morning. Good morning.
OTB AM.
Thanks to screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.